Hey, hello, welcome to the latest video in the series. So far I've been building the drone, and from the last status you've seen of the drone, I've done a few more changes to the drone. Um, if you look at it, I now have a different antenna. I have shrink wrapped the VTX and zip tied it again to the frame. That's something that won't change as long as I'm using this frame. I've ordered new frames. I'm going to transplant this into another frame at some point, but for now this should work. Then I have exchanged the props to 3 plates from the 4-blade props that I already had. And yeah, as announced in the last episode, today we're going to look into the software to actually work with the software. I'm going to connect this drone via USB. Not sure if you can see that. Via USB with my laptop. And once that is done, I can connect to it and do things. Now, the first thing that needs doing is, you remember when I said
Every tutorial I looked at said that the order in which the cables are doesn't matter, so you can solder the 3 cables of each motor in any order, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, that you want to the ESC.
well, the truth is that the order of the cables actually matter. And what a lot of those videos that told me they don't matter didn't say is that yeah, if you do them just randomly, you end up in a situation where the motors might turn in the wrong directions. So the first thing that I was doing was to figure out how to fix that, and the direction of the motors or the control of the motors is done by the ESC. You remember that small board that does the part the motors are soldered to, and the one that I'm using is compatible to something called BLHeli S, which is a protocol. And there is a tool, BLHeli Configurator, which you can see here, which basically works with setups where you have BLHeli FC pass-through. So if you connect the FC, which I just did, then you can actually update the firmware and the configuration of the ESC through this tool. This tool is a plugin for Chrome browser, and as you probably will notice by the optics, I would assume that it is actually built upon a partial fork of Betaflight Configurator. So there is another tool for configuring BLHeli stuff out there, but I found this one is the one that works and was the easiest to use. So let's connect to the drone. So once I'm connected to the drone, I am clicking on read setup. That will read the setup from the drone. And then nothing happens, which is not the expected outcome. Oh, as you can see in the notes here, it says connect power to the ESCs. So I cannot do this just on the power from the USB. Now, what I'm doing now is something you shouldn't do and I shouldn't do, which is connect this while I am having the props on. Don't do it. Now, I'm not going to change any settings, so I'm going to trust in nothing bad happening to me. But you should remove the props before using a tool like BLHeli or Betaflight on the quad. So let's click read setup again. And there we go. This is the setup of the ESC. As you can see, there is a few settings you can do, like startup power, temperature protection, the motor timing. You can do a lot of settings here, and for most of those settings I have no idea what they actually do. But if you look at this field here, which right now is saying reverse, that's the motor direction. And here you can basically select what motor direction you have. So what I did after having the quad build was I checked in what direction the motors were actually spinning. I'm going to show you how in Betaflight. And once I did that, I then came here and set them to the directions that I actually want them to turn. I think I've mentioned that in the previous videos. What I want is a setup where they go props out. Props in would be if the propellers turn towards the camera. Props out is if they turn away from the camera towards the body. And the setup that I've done here with the motors from ESC1 to ESC4, which each of those is a part of the 4-in-1 ESC, and each of those is responsible for one motor. Apart from changing the direction, I have not changed anything here. And then once I'm done, I clicked on Write Setup, and then it just writes the setup to the ESC, and that's basically done in the configuration here. The most largest part for me was actually researching how I do this, which is I had to find this tool. Alright, the next we are looking into Betaflight. There is two things Betaflight can do. One is, well, Betaflight Configurator can do. One is flashing firmware, and the other one is doing the configuration of the firmware. So the first thing that I did was I brought the firmware up to a current version, which I do by clicking on Update Firmware. Then I choose the relevant board as soon as it has loaded, which for the Tyro was the... Oh, no, we'll see that in a moment because I'm just blanking in my brain right now. Then basically it's just load firmware online, and once it's loaded, it's clicking on flash firmware. And then you basically have a fresh Betaflight installation flash to your drone. That's what I did. Now I'm going to click on Connect, which will actually change the mode. Or did I have to disconnect the other one first? I guess it. Yeah. For some reason, it doesn't connect right now. Maybe this will be an easy fix by just quickly removing the USB cable and the power. And I'm going to keep the power removed now, as we do not need that anymore for this video. There we go. And let's click Connect. There we go. This is the Betaflight configurator. You can see here what target I'm using. So the Medic F411 is the target. That was the one that was important for me for updating the firmware. And the Betaflight version I'm using right now is 4.0.3, which at the time that I flashed it was the latest one. And the first thing that I did was to actually enable export mode, because if you do not have export mode selected, you see there is a lot less options on the left here. Enabling export mode can be done by clicking here, and you can permanently enable it if you click on the gears here and click here. So now you see a representation of the drone here. You can do things like calibrate the accelerometer. Makes sense when doing it first. I did it. and then you basically can test if actually everything is working as you expected by just wiggling your drone around and see if the model that you're seeing in the screen is doing the same thing. The next thing to set up that I did set up was the ports. UR2 is connected to TBS Smart Audio, which allows you to change VTX settings through the on-screen menu, through the controller, so you don't have to connect it to the configurator all the time, and you do not have to use that silly little button to set up what channel your VTX is on, but can do that on a more visual way. Then there is the actual configuration tab. You can see I have motor direction is reverse set here. That's so the FC actually knows in what direction the motors are spinning now. And you can see that's what I said earlier. They're spinning away from the camera. The camera would be looking in this direction, spinning away towards the body. And that's for all 4 of them. The ESC is set to DSHA-600. That's the protocol that's being used to talk. I know there's people who like to have motors stop. I prefer the motors to spin when it's armed, so I have motor stop off. I have motor idle throttle value at 5.5%. That's a pretty random number. And I've left most of the values in default. I did change the pit loop frequency, which was by default set to 2. I've increased that to 8, knowing that this model supports that. I've given it a slightly different name in the personalization. That's the name that also used on the on-screen display. And, well, the rest it's using S-Bus. It's using my receiver there. The FrSky XM Plus that I'm using is connected through S-Bus. And then you might see that the rest of it is pretty much default. I've turned on the D-Shot beacon configuration, as I do not have a buzzer on the or beeper on the quad itself. This allows the Betaflight to actually use the motors through D-Shot to generate some sounds. And then there is a long list of when the quad will sound off, which in my case, basically I have everything enabled. Then power battery, I left those settings as they are. If you have different batteries, you might need to set it up, or if you have a sensor that is, or if you don't have a sensor maybe on your quad, then you need to change the things. Or if you use different voltages or whatever. Then there's the failsafe. The failsafe, you can see, is mostly, for me, it's mostly set to defaults. So it will drop when stage 2 happens. For stage 1, I've not everything on auto. I've basically put throttle to hold. I've put arm to hold, the mode to hold. The idea being that stage 1 can happen very shortly, and it can easily recover from stage 1. And if it doesn't, it will enter stage 2 at some point, and then it will just follow this and drop and turn everything off. Pit tuning, I mostly left that alone. I gave it a bit of a throttle mid and throttle expo. Probably have to adjust that once I've been flying the model a bit, but everything else is basically on the defaults. Then in the receiver tab, that's where I've set up the channel map ATR1234 and the RSSI channel put to aux12, so the RSSI is communicated through aux12. The modes, to hide the not used ones. I've set up so I have one switch, this one here, to arm the drone. I have my modes on a 3-stage switch, where the first mode is down is angle, the second mode, when it's in the middle, is acro trainer, and I've not set up the third mode, sorry, so which automatically makes it acro. And then I've put a beeper on this button, so I can trigger the beeper. I could set up more things, and once I've been flying this a bit, I'm definitely going to adjust a few things. But for now, this is the minimum that I wanted to have set up. I've not done any setups for adjustments here. I don't have any servos. This is the motor screen. In this motor screen, that's what I use to actually test the motors in which they're spinning. Normally, you cannot do anything here because there is a safety in. If you turn the safety off here, you can use those sliders to slightly just start up one motor or give full throttle on that motor as well, which you probably don't. And once you use this feature, it's absolutely paramount that you have the props off, otherwise, well, you will have your quad uncontrolled going around on your desk. Probably what you don't want. And there is the OSD. The OSD is the on-screen display. I have made a few settings here. I know that I'm going to change those around a bit to actually do the thing that my other quads do, but for now the settings should be working. I have the channel on which the VTX is, so I have the name of the drone, which is not that important. I have a scale on the battery. I have an estimate on how much time is left on the battery. I show the mode, I show the RSSI. I have warnings here. I showed the lowest cell value as well as the voltage of the whole battery. I supposedly have a name here. I'm not sure how that works, or if it works, because I haven't seen it yet. And the amperage draw. And I believe I might have changed the font, which you can do in the font manager, and then choosing one there. I've not done anything in the sensors tab. Tether logging not relevant, black box not relevant, and CLI I haven't used for anything on this quad yet either. So this is the first and basic setup that I've done for this quad, and I hope that was interesting to you. Probably not, but if you watched this video until here, then it most likely was. So I hope you enjoyed that. And the next thing for me is to take this little quad and actually fly it. Have a nice day. The next video might be taking 2 weeks, as I'm going to be traveling the next week, which means that I probably don't get to make a video. And that means in 1 week. Have a nice week. Well, actually in 2 weeks. I'm sorry. Have a nice week and see you soon.